and we are live. Welcome back, everyone, to the Chopping Block. My name is Andrew Hefner alongside Dylan Shaw, and today is a great morning if you're a Rutgers Scarlet Knights fan. Maybe not so much on the basketball side, but we'll get to that in a little bit. But first, we're going to start off with some of the biggest football news we've seen from the banks in the last couple of weeks. Two stars have announced their return to the Rutgers football program, and that is KJ Duff and Antwan Raymond, both all Big Ten winners, and for good reason. Both racked up over 1,000 yards in their respective games. KJ Duff, a top 10 in receiving yards in the nation, and Antwan Raymond, top 15 in yards on the ground on 244 carries. Dylan, I know you were excitingly texting me last night after this news broke. How happy are you with this coming, especially right after Ian Strong announced that he'd be departing?
Obviously I'm happy, but I'm just more relieved at that because just it was like when Ian Strong left, it was maybe 5, 6 o'clock on New Year's Day, right? And you're like, okay, that was a little more expected. Ian Strong, more reports came out today, and as obviously the news between Duff and Raymond, and people are saying that Strong, this is his final year of eligibility. Different from Raymond and Duff, who still technically have 2 years left. They can easily go to the draft, but they have 2 years left. Strong needed a good year to kind of boost his draft stock. And with the questions around our quarterback situation, with Cal McManus obviously going to the draft, as does other big news that happened this past week, we don't know how good AJ Cerise is. And he will be our quarterback next year, but we don't know. And Strong also doesn't know. And Strong having that pressure where he needs to get his draft stock boosted. He can't afford a year with a bad quarterback where he's not going to get the reps that he needs. So that did play into his decision to leave, according to many other sources and stuff. And because of this, people are um, conspiratizing that he might go to a Big Ten school because of this, because they have quarterbacks. He might look at someone that he kind of knows a little better, which as a fan, I don't really want to see. I don't want to see Strong in a Big Ten uniform playing against us in 2026. But let's get to the good news. Raymond, start with him. He was around, I want to say, 6 o'clock, maybe, or maybe, no, even like, I think it was 7:30 during the basketball game where he announced he's returning. And funny story. So obviously Duff did this right before tip off at the basketball game. It was a pretty cool moment. They on at the Ohio State basketball game, they put it on the big screen, like it showed his highlights, and like then he came out onto the court, and the PA guy announced that he's returning to the Banks for the next season. The crowd erupted and all that, and yeah, so that was a pretty cool moment for Duff. The fans just obviously appreciate it, and like just kind of a relief for everyone because knowing that he is like our best receiver since maybe Leonte Carew in like the mid 2010s, or like Kenny Britt in like the late 2000s. Like I couldn't even tell you, like these he is the real deal, and him staying just really like gives like a cushion for this roster, because otherwise we would have to go get a receiver in the portal, a really good one, or some of the freshmen and sophomores that are been being hyped up to be decent would have to take a major step up like Duff did this past year. And you didn't really want that because we have a first year starter coming in Cerise, and you really needed just to have his targets there. And then for Raymond, an 1,000+ yard rusher to come back. And funny story. So he was supposed to announce his return to Rutgers much earlier in the day to give Duff his like spotlight later during the basketball game. But I believe he lives in Florida or Canada, or I don't know where he was, but he was stuck on a cruise um all day or something, and he couldn't get Wi-Fi. So he had to wait for the cruise to finally return to dock for him to get off and find Wi-Fi until he could actually announce he's returning. So I guess it just made Rutgers fans have back to back good news in like within an hour, which during the basketball game at the time was like the best feeling because we were winning the game, and then you realize Duff's coming back, Raymond's coming back, and like looking times were the best ever for Rutgers football and basketball. But yeah, if we're moving on to basketball, like that game didn't go on. But yeah, what are your thoughts, Andrew? Like I know you're kind of like an outside fan of this team, but like
Yeah. Um, I mean, I would say just from the point of view of being able to watch both these guys all year from, like you said, that outside perspective, they're just both fun players to watch. I mean, you saw that KJ Duff catch that really was meant to keep Rutgers in the game late against Penn State there, and that was arguably catch of the year. That was, and it shows what having that kind of height combined with that kind of speed and that kind of athleticism can do for a receiver, because he is undoubtedly one of the best receivers in college football, and in stats wise he's a top 10 receiver in all of college football. And considering the performances that Rutgers as a team had this year compared to what he was able to put up on his own is just absolutely insane. And then Antwan Raymond, same thing. You thought he was going to be splitting a lot of carries this year with CJ Campbell, who went down with that injury. And in reality, he came back his first season as like a real starter, because you've had Manungai the last couple of seasons. Um, and he had absolutely no problem stepping into that role, in an even bigger role than he was expected to at the start of the season. So now going into next year, he knows how many carries he's going to be getting. He knows what the expectations of him is, especially with, like you said, an unexperienced quarterback. And I think Antwan Raymond is going to have an even better season. And I assume this is really going to be the last year for both of them. They'll probably, I would think, declare after this year.
yeah, I think Duff's almost a given. As long as he is semi as good as he was this past year, his frame and like his length is just perfect. Like NFL scouts are gonna be salivating over him all year. But Raymond, I think there is a long shot that he does stay for an extra year because I mean, like he can do what Manungai did. You know, Manungai could have left his junior year, but he stayed for senior year. Obviously, now he's going off as a rookie with the Bears. So yeah, I don't know, but I don't want to worry about 2027 right now. Just it's yeah, in August 2026, we will start the year with KJ Duff and Antoine Raymond on the field, which is just yeah. Now the expectations of this football team, obviously, they're not going to be as high as they were last year. I don't think I haven't seen the schedule yet. That's gonna be a big difference. Like that, whenever that comes
Yeah.
out, that'll be a big deciding factor in what we expect. Because this past year, if we don't have Ohio State, Oregon, Iowa, like Iowa, Illinois on our schedule, and we have like Wisconsin, Northwestern, like other teams like that, there's a good chance we have like 8 wins right now because that team is talented enough. And then um I want to move on to the defensive side of the ball. So obviously, there's been a lot of things going on that side. It's almost like we're completely recycling our team and trying to restart, right? And that starts with the defensive coordinator, obviously, Bob Smith, gone. That was like the first thing that happened in the offseason. I think Shiano and athletic director Kelly Zinn jumped on that early. You have the defensive backs coach. It says he took another job at Cincinnati, but let's be real. We all know he was probably laid off or like told to leave, and because Cincinnati's that's a much worse job than Rutgers. I guarantee you it. That's not a better job, and I think it was because some of the assistant defensive coordinators were released, D lines coach, all this right, linebackers coach. They're all getting fired, released. They're leaving, and then you add on to the players like Kobe Henderson is gonna retain his final year of eligibility and transfer. Bo Masco, which I'm a little disappointed in. I really hoped he stayed. He's our homegrown. He'll be a senior next year at DB. He's transferring. I think Cam Miller, Jet Elad, both are gonna graduate. And then I think the one major piece I think Rutgers will try to keep is Cod Sanders, safety. He'll be a junior next year. That's like the one player where I think he's been developing both of his years really well, and I think he can take the next step. And we have produced some pretty good NFL safeties in the past, like Christian Isian, who does start for the Buccaneers right now. He was, I think, drafted 3 years ago. So I hope Koch stays. Really, I think he is going to be an important factor even on a new defensive um, unit next year. But yeah, the transfer portal's just opened. Supposedly, we were looking after some UConn guys, some Buffalo University guys, two teams that were unexpectedly good last year, but are transferring. Coaches are changing and stuff. I hope we can get some of those guys. Monmouth, as someone you cover pretty well, their FCS program took a big leap this year,
Yeah.
and a lot of their players are transferring up to the next level. Hopefully, Rutgers can keep them in state and try to bring them home. But yeah, I think the defense is the biggest question. Every year, like last year, we didn't know how good the defense would be. We brought in some new transfers. They didn't turn out to be good. Defense let us down. Can they bring in their coach that they need? Can they bring in their players? And can they just add pieces to this offense that is looking to be pretty good?
Yeah, I think that another key thing with the offense is now you have, I mean, last year you had such a great rotating cast, especially at the start of the season, where um, Ethan was really having to kind of split hot routes and things like that between Strong and Duff and others. Um, I think, well, I'll ask you this. Do you think that having Duff as the clear main receiver for the season will affect him in any way, whether maybe for the good or for the bad?
It's really dependent on the talent level of our younger guys that are stepping up for us. We don't know, like this guy Michael Thomas the second or something. He is supposed to be a pretty good player, and he's a receiver. I think he might be a sophomore, junior. I don't know what he is, but he's gonna step up. Ben Black, someone that you as Rutgers fans know pretty well, who played some pretty important snaps this year whenever Strong was out, which he was out for a few games. Whenever we needed a fourth guy, he was like the first guy off the sideline for the receiver position. Those guys are going to step up. If they're good, and if they can keep DBs and guessing, they're not gonna always have to rely on Duff to make a big catch or get open every time. Because then, if Black can get open and if he can find the soft spots in the zone and stuff, and then the DBs have to worry about him, worry about Michael Thomas, and that opens up downfield plays for Duff, short passes for Duff. So I think Duff will get his reps. He will. He's too good not to. He's not going to go quiet. But I'm not saying that he's going to be as good, like yardage wise, because Strong just took some of that stress away from Duff on the field, just having two receivers plus obviously DT Sheffield. Like you don't really get a receiver court like that often. So yeah, I don't know. That's a hard question to answer in January when training camp hasn't started. You don't really know anything about these young guys. But if we can get the ground game going, if we can really develop some of these guys to be good players and replace Sheffield, replace Strong, I think the offense will be as dominant. And then obviously it's all up to Surace. If Surace is as accurate and as good of a if he can read defenses as well as Calic Manis or even as close to Calic Manis, that'll be okay. But I think we underestimate how big of a factor Cali Manis's ability to read defenses was because the amount of hot route audibles he made at the line, as you said just now, like he really like just changed the way our offense moves. We were
Yeah.
stagnant so many years ago, and he came in and just as the pure passer he is, really changed it. So I don't know. It's a hard question to answer, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, I want to talk about a couple recruiting and transfer things real quick. I believe there's been two confirmed visits so far for the Scarlet Knights. First one is Braden Smith, who is an offensive lineman from FCS Tarleton State. And he was an All American this past year with 14 starts. And he also played a bit of defensive line during that as well. He's 6'4", 315. So that would probably be good, but we know that there's been some good news so far for the Rutgers offensive line anyway, so being able to bolster that up this for next season would be helpful.
Yeah, I don't know. It's and one of our offensive linemen transferred, um,
Yeah,
and then two stayed. Asamoah, I know one stayed. Forget who the other lineman who stayed, but yeah, no, I hope we can get that guy from Tarleton State. Like, we just need big bodies up front. We
yeah,
rotate our linemen a lot, so it doesn't have to be like a 60-minute player or whatever, or however long. It just needs to be like someone who is just Big Ten ready.
yeah. And then another one, JMU defensive back Justin Eaglin, um, is also uh, setting a visit. So again, kind of we know that DB core has been hit hard by one transfers, but also they just didn't have a great last season. So that will be helpful, especially from a team like JMU that's had no problem beating um, top teams this year.
Yeah, and also we did get Eric O'Neill last year, defensive lineman who is graduating, but he was transfer from JMU. So
Yeah,
I think the relationship between those two teams are is pretty good. So
yeah. This year, Justin Eaglin was second team All Sun Belt defensive back. He played 14 games with 11 starts at corner, 35 tackles, 5 interceptions, 8 pass breakups, and a blocked kick. So not bad, and that would be great, great guy to have.
yeah,
All right, let's move on to a little bit of basketball. Big Ten Conference getting started. If you didn't see our Turnpike Takes episode, you could go check that out for a more in depth look at every New Jersey school. But right now, we'll stick with the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. Yesterday, it was a home game, we know, because KJ Duff was there to announce his return. But it was a tight game, or at least a game that Rutgers seemed to be more in it than they should have until the end, right?
yeah. No, I think this was kind of in a way our best game we played all year because obviously the UNLV game was just like dominant, but they're not a good team. So against good comp, this was our best game, and it did help that Tariq Francis was on a heater in the first half. He scored 15 in the first half, and at one point had a 7-0 run for himself and got the crowd just jumping in there. We had a 15-point lead. It was 39-24 early. He just had a heat check three where it just pulled up from 27 feet and swished him. I mean, he was on fire. And then typical Rutgers, we couldn't score for the rest of the half. We got at the end of the half, it was a I think I want to say 17-2 run for Ohio State to end it in the final like 5 or 6 minutes. Ended 41-37. There was a extended 37-8 run, I want to say, from the end of the first half to the early second half, where they took an 8-point lead, and then we kind of fought back. We kept fighting back. We got it to 67 all before Ohio State went on another 11-2 run for themselves and um, put the game away. But there are some good bright sides and good things to note in this game. One, Tariq Francis off the bench has just completely changed the way he plays. He has 3 games off the bench. In these 3 games, he scored 34 points against Penn. Obviously, the game winner. We haven't mentioned that, right? That was an amazing game. Um, Delaware State off the bench, he had 19 points. And then yesterday off the bench, 17 points. He only scored 2 in the second half, which is he went cold. Didn't really get to his spots in the court, but still 17 points. I mean, that's what you like to see out of the guy you recruited to or you got in from the portal to score the ball for you. And he's finally coming into his role. But Bryce Storch, I know he probably scored what like 4 points yesterday, something like that. He is a difference maker on the court. He's probably 6'9". He's not the tallest guy, but he's athletic and he plays with heart. It's literally what he literally is Rutgers. He just screams Rutgers basketball because he plays with hustle and he doesn't really need the points to show up in the box and show up in the on the court. He had some big rebounds yesterday. This really emphatic slam off a putback slam, which got the crowd into it late in the first half. Part of the miniature run led by him and Tariq Francis. He finished the game with 6 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, 3 steals. Um, yeah, so he was really good off the bench. I want to shout out Caden Powers, who, mind you, Peichel has to play him more. I think it is absurd that Caden Powers didn't play till like maybe 13 minutes ago, 14 minutes ago in the second half. Second half, we're playing Dennis Badelau, which I'm sorry, Dennis Badelau is a liability. He's slow out there. He's
Yeah.
not. He used to be able to shoot the ball. I don't know what happened to his shot, but he can't shoot the ball anymore. He's I don't know what the stat is, but he hasn't made a shot, a 3 pointer in like 4 games or something. He's a
Yeah.
liability. He cannot be playing. Caden Powers is a freshman. You want to retain these guys. You want them to play so they stay in the program. That's one thing. He's got a smooth stroke from three and from the mid range. He's not afraid to shoot the ball, which is like something that Rutgers players always struggle with. And he can defend. He can defend for his age, for being a freshman. So I need him to be first or second guy off the bench, and I think Pico needs to make that change against Oregon because fans are now kind of seeing it and they're pointing it out. And then the best player I think yesterday besides Tariq Francis was Lino Mark. Lino Mark, another freshman. He's a point guard, undersized, 6'1" maybe, but he plays with just insane hustle. He's super fast up the court. He's always trying to rip the ball out of the defender's hands, trying to go for the steals. He finished yesterday with 3 points, a rebound, 3 assists, a steal. But even if you were listening to to the broadcast, even they were saying like Lino Mark was kind of our MVP in that second half because once we got down 8, 10 points, he fought back and he got it to tie game. So Lino Mark also needs to be the first point guard off the bench or with that first group. And I think the
Yeah.
rotations of Pico needs to be better. And I think I mention this every time on Turnpike Takes, where if Rutgers loses, because why was Dylan Grant out of the game yesterday? Dylan Grant didn't play his best. It's straightforward. He didn't play his best. He only scored 14, but pretty inefficient. But when it was like 7 minutes to go in the game and we were down like 2 or 3, Dylan Grant needs to be in the game instead of Darren Buchanan. I don't care about rest breaks. I don't care about saving him for the end of the game. That's not how you play college basketball. When you're in a 2 or 3 point game at home, you need your best players in to get you over that hump and get you that lead. Because once like there's 2 or 3 minutes left in the game, adrenaline kicks in. They don't get tired like that. They're gonna fight through it. You can't keep them on the bench for that long. And Pike really messed it up yesterday. So yeah, there are some. I think there's a lot of good things to take away from this game. We only lost 80-73 to a 10-3 Big Ten team that has wins over some really good comp and almost beat UNC the other day. So yeah, but I think against Oregon on the 8th, there are some people that need to be in the rotation. There are some rotational changes that need to be made, like mid-game adjustments. And yeah, I really want to see Caden Powers and Lena Mark first two guys off the bench.
Yeah. One more thing before we wrap up here today. If you want to hear more about basketball and college basketball, make sure you check out Turnpike Takes. A new episode just dropped yesterday. So I just saw a tweet here from Sam Block, who worked with ESPN in this area. And the tweet goes, Rutgers in the CFP 2026, Rutgers with a Heisman winner 2027, Rutgers being 14-0 and the 1 seed in 2027. Sounds ridiculous. Kurt Signetti did this at Indiana. Best coaching job in college football history.
No comment. I don't know. No
I
comment.
think I think there's a couple things different with the situation. One, the NIL money at Indiana is pretty good. Two, Shiano has been doing this for I don't even know how many years he's been at it at this point. Nothing's changed. Um, and three, the two guys who even have a remote chance of winning a Heisman are not going to be at Rutgers for 2027. So, yeah, that's my take on this.
Yeah, man. I don't know. We don't have a Mark Cuban. I'll tell you that much. We do not have a Mark Cuban, so kind of helps when you have like
Yeah.
a crazy billionaire donating billions of dollars, whatever, to your team. But I don't know. I just want a 8-win season. 8-win season where we go to a fun bowl game and play for something. I don't know. Is that too hard to ask? Is that too much to ask for? I don't know.
That would be pretty entertaining. But that's going to do it for this live episode of The Chopping Block. My name is Andrew alongside Dylan. Again, just to recap, KJ Duff and Antwan Raymond back for 2026. I'm sure that we're going to have some more transfer portal news and hopefully some good news coming soon. We know that Shiano has historically been a great recruiter. So now that we're kind of a couple years into this transfer portal era, hopefully we'll be hearing some good things in the coming months. Thank you, Dylan, for joining me, and thank you, everyone, so much for listening. Make sure you check out GardenStateSports.net for all of your written news about teams in the great state of New Jersey, and you can also check out Turnpike Takes here on this same YouTube channel. So make sure you subscribe